example, if you do jujitsu, it's like wrestlers. It's like they've been there, done that. They understand the physical. It's the toughness part.
Bro, those guys can run through a wall.
Yeah,
They do.
yeah.
And they don't give a fuck. Those guys are like the toughest guys. It's the worst thing. Like you go to a jiu-jitsu, right? You go to jiu-jitsu.
It's true.
And it's like a laid back kind of fucking thing. You hang back, you hang out, and then they fucking bring in some wrestler guy.
And he just runs through people.
And he just tries to fucking run through people. And you're like, bro, I'm here for recreation. You know, like I'm just trying to fucking show up to work tomorrow without my neck fucking busted. And this guy's fucking double legging you and trying to dump you on your fucking head. Like we have a guy in my academy who's a fucking monster. You know, he's like a white belt, but he has such a strong wrestling base that it's just like, oh, this guy's a nightmare to deal with. You know.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, and he's just because he's so explosive and so dynamic. Now, yeah, he makes mistakes here and there because he's just not aware of the submissions yet. But the moment any wrestler starts to understand those principles, they're a nightmare to deal with, right? Because yes, they have that mental toughness point already because they don't give a fuck. They'll run through a wall 80 times if that's going to get them the end result. You know,
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah, 100%, man.
Wrestlers are the bingo. Jiu-jitsu guy is going to be a little more like, not worth it. You're like, I'll get you tomorrow, not a big deal, you know. And then they fucking they're pretty chill. So it's just like two different like worth ethics.
That's funny. When you're dealing with that, like you said, you've dealt with MMA guys, right? You were telling me.
So currently, I've worked with Sydney Outlaw and Roman Feraldo.
Okay.
And mainly with Roman, I just do his mobility work, right? Like he just comes in and we just do like 30 minutes to an hour of mobility work right before he goes in to do his striking session.
Right.
He's really kind of takes care of his own strength conditioning and probably deals with like the lifting. You know?
Yeah. Actually, let me think of that. I think of that particular situation. So this is another thing that people don't understand. They think stretching is to stretch.
Yeah.
Like, but stretching is not. Yeah. Like mobility and stretching is not really to stretch. It is, but then it isn't. Like the way it sounds like the way you're doing it is, it's almost as if you're opening up the range of motion of the joint structure, whatever it is that he's working on. And then you go do the striking. And then that way, whatever movement that he planned on doing, he's going to get a little bit more out of it because of the fact that he worked 35, 45 minutes of mobility.
The goal is he should feel kind of like a week, right? I mean, the way I look at mobility training is, well, mobility first is how much strength you have in a range of motion, right?
Right.
You can only get to a certain end range because your body understands, oh, I'm safe here.
Right.
If it doesn't perceive you're safe, if there's no perceived safety there, it's like, fuck that. Don't even get over this, right? So it's just like the anti, like, dumb button. Like, hey, let's not fucking play games.
Right, okay.
So with him, it's just whatever he feels like he needs to work on. Like, yo, my ankles feel a little stiff. Let's just fucking get that. And a lot of it is just trying to ingrain this idea into his own brain, like, oh, I can be here safely, comfortably, and then master that position, right? So it's being efficient in those places. So that's really the idea.
Yeah, and that's a thought process that is difficult for a lot of people because again, I go back to they think more is better. Like, oh, my ankle's stiff. Oh, I just gotta warm up long. I gotta warm up more.
The other thing too is like the perception or idea of this thing, right? Like if you look at like mobility movements, they look easy. Like if somebody looks at them, they're like, that ain't shit. You know, to get down into like a deep knee bend and fucking just roll my ankle from fucking fat toe to pinky toe. They look at that shit and they're like, it's nothing. Until they get down and they realize, oh fuck, I can't even put my knee over my toe without my heel coming fucking halfway off the fucking ground.
Yeah, right? I have like no ankle.
So there's like this stigma. I'll tell you a quick funny anecdote, and I don't mean to take a fuck ton of time, but I used to be a manager at an Equinox, right? Years ago. And I had these two trainers. One of them was a master instructor for animal flow, right?
Okay.
And he always kind of got the shit for being the animal flow guy. Right? He's there on the fucking ground, crawling, fucking monkeying, fucking handstanding.
Yeah, doing all that crazy movement.
Transition, doing all that crazy movement, right? And then we had another guy who was a trainer who was a big, like, CrossFit country boy. I mean, like, fucking 5'11", 220, 8% body fat.
Gorilla.
Just a fucking gorilla, right? Like, corn-fed fucking gorilla. And him and the animal flag used to always like kind of like joke around and like talk shit. And one day he said something like, bro, this isn't fucking animal flow or some shit like that. And I remember the animal flow guy was just like, you know what, bro? Let's just see. Like, who the fuck is actually really that strong? And he fucking grabs like a 70-pound kettlebell. And this is not a big dude, bro. He's probably like around your size.
Right.
And he grabs like a fucking kettlebell. I mean, obviously bigger than me. Grabs a kettlebell and he just strict presses like fucking 70 pounds like it's like nothing. Wow, and then just brings it right back down and then hands it to the CrossFit guy.
And goes lift it.
And when he goes to press it, it's like this fucking like, this like weird like, thoracic extension, kind of like dip a little bit, struggle to this, and then I can clean it up. And then he like puts it down and he's like, fuck you, man. I did like arms, so I'm a little sore. So then whatever. They go to deadlift. They go to squat. They go to bench. And the animal flow guy, when you go and you look at it, like that motherfucker was probably stronger pound for pound. And then after they deadlifted and after they squatted and after they benched, he goes, all right, so now it's your turn to do something that I do. And he fucking goes into a handstand and he just fucking walks across the gym in a handstand and then just fucking comes back down. And the other guy couldn't do that shit. And when I saw that, I was like, wow, there's something to it. So I hired my own employee to personally train me for a little bit. And that's how I got really, really into like the movement shit. Really? And I started to realize, oh, this makes infinitely more sense than fucking like this weird dogma of, oh, you got to deadlift, you got to back squat, you got to bench, you got to press. If you see any of those fucking powerlifter guys, they barely fucking move.
Yeah, they're moving.
Put them on the floor, ask them to get up off the ground. They fucking struggle. It's like watching a fucking turtle on like a shell and backwards. And it's like, dude, you may be able to squat, bench, or deadlift 600 pounds. But no importa, you can't get off the fucking ground. And then that becomes even more inherently like obvious when you go into something like grappling. You get these fucking guys that come in, that do CrossFit, they back squat, they bench, they do whatever, they're fucking animals. They still get armbarred, they still get choked, and generally by somebody who they outweigh by 60 pounds.
It's true.
And they get mangled. Right. And then they're sitting there confused as the fuck, I can lift all this weight. And that's when you just, it's inherent. Like, it doesn't fucking matter how strong you are if you don't know what the fuck you're doing on the mat. Right. But the opposite is true. You can know all you know on the mat, but you may not understand how to train appropriately offside the mat because you just don't have the knowledge.
Right. And that's where I feel like at least the grappling, the jiu-jitsu side is behind a little bit. They haven't figured that out yet. Yeah. And it's because it hasn't been an organized sport now for a while. You know, like you watch like a lot of the stuff that we're talking about now, my boy Sebastian, he's like, oh yeah, we did all that stuff because he was a D2 basketball player. Yeah. So it's organized sports. So you get guys like you, everybody that is like understands how movement works. Yeah,
it's like an organized strength.
Yeah, it's an organized strength and conditioning, even though it's like kind of cookie cut for the whole team to some extent.
Yeah, no, usually.
Yeah. Unless it's like a star player that they're kind of like giving a little.
Sometimes you go into a college strength room and like everybody's lifting the same fucking weight. Like, oh, you're gonna deadlift. I'm just setting up a deadlift, and obviously it depends on the coach. It shouldn't be like that, but oh, we're all gonna deadlift the same fucking weight, and it's like, how? One guy's
6'5".
6'5", 180. Another guy is 6'8". Like they don't have the same joint angles. They're lifted from the same height, and then evidently somebody gets fucked. Yeah. But you see that. But the thing with jiu-jitsu, and in all honesty, it almost there's like a point to where it doesn't matter like how you really lift that much. Because I mean, look at somebody like Gordon Ryan. He doesn't look like he does any fucking movement training, and that guy destroys people. He trains like a fucking bodybuilder. He's also sauced to the gills, right? Yeah. And that's just inherent in the sport. I mean, if you look at those sort of things that just happened in December, 5 people got fucking busted for fucking performance. Yeah. But it's a non-tested organization, right? Right. So like everybody's doing it. So
but apparently Gordon Ryan, this is according to Danaher, his coach, apparently his ability to do isometric contraction is unreal.
Dude, the guy's a freak.
Yeah, apparently that's what Danaher says that his special skill is that his special skill is that he's able to hold an isometric contraction forever. Doesn't get tired. And that's one of the reasons why he says that he thinks he does so well outside of him being, an athlete and super dedicated. All that other stuff is very important as well. But one of his like natural gifts is that the guy's just able to squeeze and hold the squeeze.
He trains probably harder than anybody, and he retains information better than everybody. And that's literally why he's like the best guy.
Yeah. And I remember having this discussion with a black belt that I used to train with up in New York. He told me that he's like, bro, the guy just studies. And then my current coach, they did I don't know if it was in 2017 or 16. I'm not sure what year it was. But Gordon Ryan came, and it was actually a whole camp. It was him, all the top guys. Like, off the top of my head, I can't remember all their names. But my coach even said, he's like, dude, the only person that showed up to every workout was Gordon Ryan.
Yeah, that guy.
He's like he was there. They were doing 2 days. He was there in the morning. He was there in the afternoon. He did not speak. You would tell him to do something, he'd look and go, okay.
Yeah, his work ethic is unreal. So now here's the thing though. People are like, oh, I'm gonna train just like Gordon Ryan. It's like, how the fuck do you expect to train at like the top 1% of the echelon the way that he trains?
Yeah, it's true.
You probably need to be doing something else for you, right? Like training is specific to you,
the individual.
And then when you think about that, like in the grand scheme of things, you know, you still should just be training things that make sense, right? Like it doesn't like you're a guy who's average level jujitsu, and then you're gonna go crush yourself at the gym, fucking doing bicep curls and hamstring fucking curls and shit like that, like a bodybuilder.
That's just dumb.
Kill yourself with high volume, get back to the gym and just realize, oh, I'm getting fucking mangled because I'm fucking exhausted because you just can't handle the same.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. I hope you liked that clip. And if you'd like to see another clip, please go here. Or if you'd like to watch the full episode, you can also go here.